Welcome to Fairy Tale Access, where the head fairy's quest is to prove that fairy tales do exist in actual time rather than once upon a time. Together, we will unravel the heroes, young and old, who turn dreams into reality. These are the people who still believe in happily ever after. The discoveries will bend even our most cynical non-believers into believing in fairy tales. Hi, welcome to Fairy Tale Access. Today, our guest is attorney John Ward, who is a specialist in personal injury, Social Security, workman's comp, and civil litigation. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Denise.
My pleasure. So can you tell me a little bit about your job? What does it look like on a daily basis?
It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of work. Representing clients, a lot of them dealing with insurance companies, dealing with issues not getting checks, not getting paid, trying to make kind of even the playing field to make sure that people that are injured get the compensation they deserve.
All right, so let's break it down. With civil litigation, what does that include?
Sure. It includes a lot of different things. It can involve personal injury cases where, say, an auto accident, for example. Somebody gets hurt, somebody rear ends them, for example. They file a claim, the insurance company's not responding, they're not getting where they want to get, and that's usually when they call me. Usually if the insurance companies did what they were supposed to do, I wouldn't get involved in these cases, but a lot of times they don't. And how I get involved is I'll review the case, review liability issues, review damages, were they hurt, what was their medical treatment, that sort of thing. And then kind of develop a strategy to make sure that they get the compensation they deserve. Now, a lot of times we can resolve these cases without filing suit, basically a complaint, going to court, that sort of thing, all the stuff you see on TV. A lot of the times these cases get resolved without that. It's easier, it's more cost effective for everybody involved. Sometimes that doesn't always work though, and what we have to do is file suit on their behalf against the driver or whoever injured them. And then we'll file a lawsuit, we'll go through the court process. At that point, we do discovery, get some additional information. A lot of times we'll go to mediation, once again, to try to see if we can resolve the issues. And then if that all doesn't work, then we go to trial, and we put it up to 12 people that make a determination of, you know, who's at fault and what are the damages and that sort of thing.
Wow. Now, in New Hampshire, are people required to get automobile insurance?
No.
So that must become a huge problem.
It is. It's a problem. You've got people that, you know, for whatever reason, make a mistake and hit somebody gets hurt, and they don't have insurance. Luckily, a lot of times people have uninsured motorist coverage, which will cover them if there's somebody that doesn't have insurance. So there's still an avenue to potentially get compensation. You run into problems if the person that hit you doesn't have insurance, and if you don't have insurance, you're out of luck. Unless potentially you can file an action if there's assets, the defendant has assets. Usually that's not the case. Usually if they do have assets, they would be smart enough to get insurance. So some cases, you know, I have to tell people there's not much we can do on this. There's nothing to recover. And not a conversation you want to have, but my job's to do that sometimes.
Oh, that's a bummer. But so in New Hampshire, it's very important to get uninsured motorist coverage.
Correct. You want to have enough coverage, and it's an issue now, especially with a lot of the national insurance companies. I don't want to name names, but do websites, and they are really doing direct marketing, which is all good. I don't fault anybody for trying to make money. The problem is that they sometimes sell not enough insurance to people, and they're cheaper. The policies are cheaper, and you know your monthly debit transaction is a little bit less. But if you get hurt and you've got $50,000 in coverage, and you're going to need surgery, and you're going to be in the hospital, that's not even going to cover a day in the hospital these days. So you know, I encourage people to really think long term about these issues. Make sure you have enough coverage. I say 250 to 500 a minimum. Also, consider an umbrella policy, which would cover any additional damages. So, people have to decide what's best for them in their economic situation, but I've seen it many times where people get hurt and there's not coverage available, or enough coverage available, and it's tragic. It's absolutely tragic.
So when there's an accident, is there anything they can do to protect themselves?
Good question. Yes, there is. Couple things initially are take pictures. Okay, you've got to be able to document everything.
Okay.
Insurance companies want documentation. Okay, so that's number one. Okay, and that takes pictures of your vehicle, the scene, and if you have any bodily injuries. Okay, so you can document what the issues are. And whether you're handling it yourself, trying to, or you've got an attorney involved, it helps me. That's one of the first things I do when I get a call and say, this happened. Do we have pictures?
Well, they should do it anyway. Even if they don't think they're injured at the time, the next day it could show up as whiplash or
You're absolutely
different
right.
things.
And it happens all the time. Anybody that's been in an accident or kind of been in a stressful situation, you're geared up and you don't necessarily feel, kind of what's going on. So a lot of times they'll think they're fine at the scene, then the next day they wake up and what's this thing going on in my neck or my back? And oh yeah, I was in an accident yesterday, and kind of the adrenaline's worn off, and then the symptoms start.
Wow. And they should also get witness statements?
That's correct. Witness statements are very helpful to be able to document what happened. Okay, so you want to see who's at the scene.
What information should they put on a witness statement? What they saw happen, their name, phone number, anything like that?
Yeah, number one is contact information. Okay, who was there, who saw it. Okay, the police department, if the police come, are supposed to try to get witness statement or at least get contact information for witnesses that are there. As you know, the police are very busy, and sometimes that doesn't always happen. So you've got to be proactive to protect yourself, to make sure that if there's people that saw the accident and can be helpful, that you have their contact information, that they can kind of tell the story about what happened. Sometimes in these cases, I'm sure you'll be shocked to hear this, but two people have two different sides of what happened. So the more you can have other people that are backing up what you're saying makes a big difference. And I'll tell you, I use it a lot. I'll do witness statements prior to filing suit. You can do it depositions, you can do all that stuff, but I find it's helpful initially to say, look, not just my client saying this, it's Mr. X and Mr. Y that are saying the exact same thing. So you may want to talk to your insured again and see if he changes his story.
Oh, that's funny. So what type of benefits are involved in, I read something about liens. So what is that?
For a personal injury case, for an auto accident case, in New Hampshire, there's certain benefits you're entitled to. Okay, there's medical specials, which are medical bills, that sort of thing. There's lost wages. Mm-hmm. There's pain and suffering. That's, issues. Is it harder to do your job? Is it harder to get out of bed? Are you not doing some of the activities? Do you like to do volleyball? Do you like to do soccer? You can't do that anymore, that sort of stuff. There's also hedonic damages, which is loss of enjoyment of life, that sort of thing.
So they should keep a diary.
Absolutely.
Of how their life has changed from the accident to whenever they get to court.
That's absolutely correct, Denise. Being able to document, once again, I can't say it enough, is critical in these cases. And to really, because the other thing you got to think about, these things don't resolve in a week. They take a long time.
Right.
I'm not sure what I had for lunch last week. People aren't going to remember a year or two ago how they felt on January 16th, 2016. So the more you can document that stuff, it makes a big difference.
And how much are the lawyers in these cases?
Sure. Way I get paid in these cases, it's what's called a contingency fee, meaning I only get paid if I'm able to recover for my client. Generally on an auto accident case, it's 1/3 of whatever the recovery is plus expenses. Mm-hmm. Expenses are medical records, that sort of thing. If I have to hire a doctor, that sort of thing. The initial consultation is always free. This is not like a divorce or a criminal case where, you got to pay a retainer and I bill you every month. It's basically always a free consultation. I'm always happy to talk to anybody, answer their questions. My office is a place where we get back to people within 24 hours on every issue. Customer service, like any other business, is critical. And if I called somebody, I'd want them to call me back, so that's what we do. So that's how we get paid. It's a pretty reasonable. If I don't get you anything, I don't get paid. Bottom line.
Right, and you're out the expenses.
What's that?
And you're out the expenses.
Correct. So,
So you're taking a chance on.
Every
as
case
well.
there's risk, and so you have to balance that. The way I balance it, and if you have no shot, then I'll tell you that, and I'm frank and upfront with you. If you have a good case, I'll tell you that. If there's a case that's so-so, a lot of those cases I take because they're funner, frankly, because you got to push a little bit, and that's okay, and that's why they hire a lawyer, to get somebody that's going to push and get them what they deserve. So, and you asked about liens too. I didn't answer that question.
Oh, yes.
Liens. It's becoming more and more of an issue, and insurance companies and medical providers are being very aggressive with it. What a lien is say you get hurt, you go to the hospital, you have health insurance, okay? Health insurance pays your bills. Now they have a lien, they can assert a lien against any proceeds you get from the settlement. So say you have $30,000 in medical bills, they can assert a lien against, your future settlement, meaning you have to pay them back. So
That doesn't seem fair because you're paying the monthly dues for your insurance. And then they get to lien. So they get that and they get to put a lien against your recovery.
correct. They get to keep your premium and they get to get their money back if you get another recovery. What the law says is basically you can't have a double recovery, that you're getting, two things in one pot. So there are things you can do though. A lot of people think, oh, geez, I've got a $30,000 lien, I've got to pay everything. Not really. A lot of what I do is not just dealing with insurance companies, liability companies, it's dealing with medical providers and saying, look, listen, pal, there's a liability issue here. We don't have to pursue this. You're going to have to work with us on this lien, and what I'll do is get it reduced, 50%, 60%, 40%, which puts more money in my client's pocket. I don't take a fee on that. It's just to make the numbers work so they get a fair recovery. Because I don't want a case, and I wouldn't want my clients to have a case where the lawyer gets paid, the medical provider gets paid, and they got $5 in their pocket. That's not right.
Yeah, that's not right.
So part of what I do is being able to deal with those liens to make sure everybody gets their share and not more than their share.
Oh, that's good. All right, let's move on to Social Security. Now, with Social Security, do they only consider your physical or mental impairments, or what are the factors involved so that people can get Social Security?
Sure. It is your physical and mental impairment, but there's more than that. Okay. The way Social Security looks at these things is several different factors. Okay. In addition to your physical and mental impairments, they also look at your age. Okay. Why they look at your age, which makes some sense. The older you get, the tougher it is to transition to another job, tougher it is to get retrained, that sort of thing. So somebody that's 55 has a different case than somebody that's 45 because the rules that I need to follow to get them approved is less burdensome. Okay, so age is a factor. Older you get, potentially the easier it is, which makes some sense for people. The other thing is education. I always tell you in school, more education is good. Not for Social Security. If you're looking to apply for Social Security, less education usually gives you a better chance. And there's a reason for that. It's because if you don't have a lot of training, a lot of skills, once again, it's going to be tougher to train for another job, to go to, if you've done factory work, you're not going to be going to the operating room. It's just, you don't have the training, you don't have the skills. The other factor that's considered in these sort of things is prior work. Okay, what have you done for prior work? And if you've done a lot of different jobs and have a lot of different skills, which is good, and you probably should be applying for disability, then you probably have more opportunity to find a job. If you've done factory work all your life, putting the things in the box, and you've got bilateral carpal tunnel, it makes it difficult because you haven't done anything else, and you don't have other skills, and you don't have other training.
Right.
So, in addition to your, whatever your impairment is, physical or mental, there are other factors that go into looking at these cases and looking whether somebody qualifies for disability or not. It was a big issue too, the recession, a lot of people out of work. So fortunately, I think there's less people applying, which is good. I think probably a good thing, because it seems like the economy is improving a little bit, but not as fast as I would like. But
That's true. What type of benefits are people entitled to for this program?
Social Security?
Right. And why do we pay Social Security insurance? Does that help this so that it's available for other people?
Yeah. There's two programs. There's what's called SSDI, Social Security Disability Insurance, and there's a program called SSI, Supplemental Security Income. Okay. SSDI is people that have paid into the system, that they've worked, and your money's coming out of your paycheck every week, and you are insured for Social Security purposes if something happens to you, and you get hurt, something happens, and you need to apply for disability. If you get approved, you get a monthly benefit based on how much you put in. Okay, so lower wage earners usually have a less Social Security benefit. Higher wage earners have a higher benefit. It all depends. It can be $1,000 a month, $1,500 a month, $2,000 a month. It all depends on what you put in.
Right.
And the benefits of that program is not only a monthly benefit, it's also Medicare after 2 years. So there's health insurance that goes along with it. And then the third thing is dependent benefits. If you've got, if you're 45 and you still got kids in school and something bad happens to you, there's benefits that your children can get as well, which is, helpful for families that are dealing with issues like that.
Absolutely.
The other program is the SSI program, which is Supplemental Security Income, and that's an income-based program. It's basically a welfare program, and that's generally more for kids. I see it with kids. I see it with people that have long-term mental illnesses that have never really worked, and that program is lower monthly benefit. Just went up, $814, $798, somewhere in that range. Don't quote me on that, but there's no Medicare, there's no dependent benefits, and it's a dollar-for-dollar reduction after $20, meaning any money you get coming in from somewhere else, your SSI is being reduced. So, in a nutshell, those are the two programs, and those are the benefits.
And how much does it cost to get an attorney for Social Security benefits to pursue them?
Same thing. It's similar to an auto accident case. It's a contingency fee. It's 25% of whatever they owe you in back benefits. Once again, I don't get paid unless I win for that person. So it's a contingency fee plus expenses. A lot of times it's not a lot. It's usually under $100. But for medical records, that sort of thing. A lot of times we try to work with medical providers and say, look, this is a Social Security they don't have money. Obviously, they wouldn't be applying if they had other options. And so sometimes we try to work to get them to waive some of their fees. But they see Esquire at the end of my name. They think I get a bunch of money. It's not true. But anyways, it's a free consultation, same sort of thing. So anybody that calls, I'm happy to talk to them. And once again, my practice is to be very frank, to say, look, I can help you, or no, I can't, and here's why.
And that's true. You've won a lot of awards lately.
Yeah, I've done well.
So tell me about, there's like 5 of them, right?
I haven't counted, but yeah, I've been honored by super lawyers as a rising star in workers' comp. National Association of Personal Injury Lawyers, 40 under 40. Trial lawyers, 40 under 40. So I don't know where they keep finding me, but
So you really like your job and you're doing well, so your
I do.
clients like you.
I do. I've got a great staff. I really do. I've got people that have been with me since I started.
How long has that been?
Not that long. I've been a lawyer for, let's see, the way time goes by. Sworn in 2010, so about 6 years. And I was with another law firm, and I had a couple staff people that I tend to grab people real fast that I like. And so my claims administrator, who used to be in the insurance business, came over, started working with me right when I started, and then I transferred over to my law firm now, Patrick, Sherrill, and Ward, and she came with me, and then my legal assistant, Sarah Johnson, and so, and we added a nurse paralegal recently who, she's got 4 kids, and got sick of working nights and doing all that stuff, and she's been a great asset, and so we've got a great team.
Sounds great.
Yeah, I always tell people it's not one of those places where you dial 8 and wait 10 minutes, dial 6. You can talk to a human being on the other end of the line.
Let's give them some quick information about workman's comp.
Sure.
So what type of benefits are the injured workers entitled to, and if they retain a lawyer at some point? Because the law looks pretty clear, but it doesn't always turn out the way they think. So how does, well, obviously getting a lawyer helps them settle the case, but how much are your fees in a workman's comp case?
Sure. Fees in a workers' comp case are, once again, it's a contingency fee, meaning if I don't win for you, I don't get paid. It's 20%. It's set by statute, okay? So I get 20% of whatever recovery I'm able to get. The other thing people should know...
Does that include the medical bills or?
No.
Okay.
No. All that includes is permanency. So if you have a permanent impairment from your work injury, you'll get a rating from a doctor, and there's this complicated formula that if we had a couple hours I could tell you about, but I don't think we have the time, where you will get a certain amount of money based on your permanency.
Okay. And what type of benefits are they entitled to?
Permanency is 1. Lost wages is 2. Medical benefits, 100% of your bills paid, including mileage to and from appointments. Insurance companies always forget to tell people about that, and it adds up after a while.
Absolutely.
So you get mileage to any of your appointments. Voc rehab, meaning job training, that sort of thing, that's a benefit that's available to folks. So there's benefits available. It's supposed to be a trade-off that you didn't know you made, but the legislature decided a long time ago, New Hampshire was one of the first states to put in a workers' comp system that said the regular litigation system takes too long, it's too cumbersome, it's too expensive for somebody that gets hurt on the job. So in exchange, you don't have to go through you don't have to prove liability, you don't have to go through the traditional court system, but you get reduced benefits. You get 60% of your average weekly wage, you get the medical benefits, and you get permanency. You don't get pain and suffering, you don't get hedonic damages. It's supposed to be faster and quicker, but the trade-off that you didn't know you agreed to is a little bit less benefits. So that's
what percentage of their pay do they get?
60%.
60?
60% based on their average weekly wage. So, when you're valuing these cases, it's all based on how much you make. If you've got a high wage earner, obviously the case is worth more because, what they're going to have to be paying in weekly indemnity benefits is a lot higher. If you have a lower wage earner, it's less. And permanency, once again, I can't go into the whole thing because we don't have time, but is based on wages as well. So you could have the same injury, but somebody that makes $100,000 a year versus somebody that makes 30, their permanency could be $40,000 to $50,000 different. So it's, that's the system. One other additional thing that people should know, and I don't think a lot of people know, and insurance companies don't tell them, is medical bills. Say you go back to work, things are going fine, you're doing okay, but you're still getting treatment, you still have issues, and they start denying medical treatment. The legislature, in their wisdom, and it makes some sense, found that these people weren't able to get help because lawyers couldn't do it because there was no way to get paid. Insurance companies would deny it to try to get you to go away.
Right.
So what the law says now is if you get a denied medical bill and you have to challenge that, and you hire a lawyer, and you win, the insurance company's got to pay that lawyer on an hourly basis. So there's some incentive to, number one, get a lawyer involved, so sometimes you can talk them down to pay the bill, or two, it doesn't cost you anything other than you get your bills paid, and then the insurance company's got to pay your lawyer. So I think that's a double benefit. Give you a hard time, and they got to pay the bill.
Exactly, and then it's less stress,
Yeah.
because I think all three of these type of cases must be stressful.
They are, and there's a lot of paperwork, and a lot of it's a different language, and you've got to know how to talk the language, and like a lot of things, like you got to know how to turn the screw the right way. I don't know how to turn the screw the right way in the TV world, but in the legal world, I do.
Wow. Well, when you learn history in school, wasn't the law supposed to be so that an 8th grader could understand it?
Yeah, it hasn't worked out that way, has it?
No, what happened?
I don't know. I get that one's above my pay grade.
No.
It just, the system is, you get lawyers involved, and it can be more difficult sometimes, and too much verbiage, and
Well, what led you to this field?
probably family. My dad's a lawyer. My dad's a lawyer up in the North Country in Littleton, and we have a satellite office in Littleton up in the North Country. So, I guess growing up, I saw my dad, and it seemed kind of interesting, get to help people. So I went into the field, and, I like fighting for people. It's just kind of how I'm built, and kind of being a pain in the butt sometimes. And so I've kind of redirected being a pain in the butt in a positive way, I hope.
Absolutely. You've got a lot of great coverage and awesome recognition, really. So
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
And any last second advice to people out there pursuing these cases?
Just be aware. Insurance companies, you're a claim number, okay? It's not personal. It's just the way it is. You're a claim number. So just be aware of that. Make sure you document things. Make sure you don't sign authorizations without talking to somebody. Be careful about recorded statements. They can cut and paste those things to make them sound a little different than they are. It's a business, and they're a business. So they've got a lot of money behind them, and a lot of people working on their behalf to try to get you less. So depending on the case, you may want to try to bring somebody in to even the playing field a little bit.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for your time today and sharing so much about your field.
Thank you, Denise, for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Oh, my pleasure. So until next time, keep asking questions. And if you have a personal injury issue, disability, Social Security, or workman's comp, you definitely might want to ask those questions to a lawyer. We'll see you soon.